Well, just as a bit of background, I'm originally Greek American, and I came over to England or to the UK to study at the Falmouth School of Art. And I wanted to study fine art, and I've always had a love of art. And while I was here, I actually met my husband. I did eventually go back to the States, and I got my degree actually from the States at Skidmore College in upstate New York. But we came here actually to live. In fact, we have three daughters. But while we were here, I got very much involved in design and marketing, and ended up running design and marketing companies. And as I said, I've been here for over 30 years. I do think that there's a really strong link between good design and e-learning, because I think that good design takes complex messages and makes them simple. And I think that that actually works very well in e-learning. So that's really the link between the two. Well, my way into learning and development really was through our design and marketing company, the one that I was running at the time. And we won a large contract from the Learning and Skills Council, which really was sort of educationally based. It really was more e-learning. And as a result of that, in order to deliver it, I needed to get some e-learning specialists in, some instructional designers. And it was at that point that I got fascinated by it. And I thought this is a really exciting opportunity. I could really see where training was going in terms of developing it and going towards e-learning. So we actually ended up, after this project, setting up an e-learning company, which really was a sort of a sideline to the business. So we set up Sponge, and it was just sort of ticking over for a few years from 2004. But by about 2008, 4 years later, I mean, e-learning just sort of took off. You know, we were getting so many inquiries, and we suddenly won so much work that we kind of reached a point where we had a decision to make. Do we carry on with doing design and marketing, or do we carry on doing e-learning? And I took the decision then that it was just going to be e-learning. And I found it much more interesting, much more fascinating. There are really kind of interesting challenges with taking training and how to make it interesting and engaging in e-learning. It was the right decision, and I still find it, even today, I find it really exciting to work on e-learning projects and think, how can we make this really engaging for people? A really interesting project that we recently completed is for Tesco compliance. And the reason why I think it's a good example is that compliance e-learning gets really bad rap. Learners don't want to do it. It's mandatory. They have to go through it. So our approach was, well, what can we do to make this really kind of fun and engaging for people so it's an enjoyable experience? So we came up with this idea of a campaign approach. And the campaign was called Learning Leap. And there was a leaderboard, and there were a series of modules that they needed to complete that weren't too long, say about sort of 20 minutes, so that it didn't interfere too much with their sort of day job or whatever they were doing. But on the leaderboard, it had a really kind of cool visual idea, which was that you were a parachutist, and as you started to go through the learning, you were a leaper. So we began to clock everyone who was just starting the learning. So they were leapers, and as they were going through it, they were learners. So again, it would clock people going through the e-learning. And if you were a lander, it meant that you completed your e-learning. So what it was doing is in real time, it was recording what was happening in this campaign and how many people were going through it, whether they're a leaper, a learner, or they had landed. Now, this was a really successful campaign. We did a lot of pre and post emails and feedback surveys. But the gist of it is the result was we got 4,000 people globally through the e-learning in a period of 6 weeks. And we also translated it into lots of different languages as well. So we actually then also had feedback surveys done to review what they liked about it, how much they learned, how it affected their work. And as a result of that, we won an e-learning age award in compliance for this particular campaign, Learning Leap. Well, I think the first thing that we've noticed in terms of trends is that the market is maturing. I think that clients are now used to the idea of e-learning, and they're coming to us and they're not saying, you know, if we have 3 or 4 modules, you know, can we have maybe 20, 30, 40, 50 modules, maybe shorter? So we're seeing a trend in quantity and also making them a little bit more shorter and more concise and to the point. So we're seeing it used a lot more. We don't need to convince them that they need e-learning. They can see the value of it. But I would say that there are probably four key trends that we're definitely noticing. The first one is in e-learning games. There's a fascination with e-learning games. And I think it's e-learning authoring tools are improving. What we're seeing is that games can be created which are more affordable. We've delivered webinars on it and had sort of record numbers on webinars because people are fascinated on how they can make e-learning more engaging for their learners. The other one really is very much video. When I say video, I would say interactive video. As broadband has improved, we're seeing a lot more video in e-learning, and in particular interactive video where you involve yourself in it. It's not like you're just watching it. You have to make decisions. You can influence the outcome of video. So that's actually quite interesting. I think the third also would be responsive e-learning. So we've got responsive e-learning where a module can appear on someone's mobile phone, it can appear on a tablet, it can appear on an iPad and a PC. So they want to be able to use it across the spectrum. And we don't always know how people are going to access it. So the fact that they can access it on all is important. I think the fourth one is really explainer animations. There's a real kind of fascination for explaining complex messages visually and quickly through the use of animation and really sort of taking animation to a new level by explaining complex messages. Well, I like to start early, around 7:30. I know for some that's not early. I know the CEO of Apple starts at 3:45. I'm afraid I get in at 7 or 7:30. But the idea is really to sort of plan my day, make sure I clear down any of my emails. And then as people start to come into the office, from sort of 8:30, I'll meet with managers, so the head of PMs, IDs, development, to see how they're getting on, make sure clients are happy. I'll also get involved in any key projects for clients just to oversee them, and the ones that I know about, make sure that they're going in the right direction because our focus really is all around delighting clients. We're also doing quite a lot of work in research and development, so I'll see how those projects are going, like, for example, e-learning games or interactive video. We're trying some new tools, new software, see what's happening there. Often my day will include a client visit in the UK or Europe, so sometimes I do have to travel. I also deliver webinars and talks, so it can include that as well on topics, e-learning trends, what's happening in the industry, which, I really enjoy doing. When I can, I try to be off by about 6:30 because I have a lovely Dalmatian dog who needs a walk, so that's what I normally try and do if I can. Well, in order to find out about Sponge UK, I guess the best place to look is the website. So that's spongeuk.com. And you'll see on there some examples of our work. It explains, what we do and our processes, a bit about the company, our values. So it just might be fun to just look at the website and explore it. There's also a blog with lots of articles being published, weekly. So we try and keep that fresh with new things that are happening and trends. So worth looking at the blog. And also, if you're interested in seeing any further kind of examples or would like to request a demo, if you contact us, you can do that through the website as well.